Yo, 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 what's going on, everybody? We got a brand new Hockey Happy Hour coming at you. We got a special guest, Rich Pilon, joining us here in a little bit. We got a bunch of NHL news and notes to talk about. And, of course, with the Flyers, we can't have anything nice here. We just can't. But we're going to talk about it in a little bit. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. It's time to jump on with your boys here and talk some puck. Let's get at it.
Let's go! This ain't the puck fight! Force is thinking he stinks!
Oh, shit!
It's time!
Ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new edition of the Hockey Happy Hour live on A2DRadio.com. I am Matt Sensudi, along with the Darkwing Brian Daly.
What up, what up?
And the Broken One, Rob Povia.
Good evening, gentlemen. How are we doing tonight?
All right, and the one and only Mr. Brad Ryer. And tonight on the Hockey Happy Hour, brought to you by Manscaped, 20% off plus free shipping with code at A2D at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code at A2D at manscaped.com. It's time to throw out your old hygiene habits and upgrade your life. Today on the Hockey Happy Hour, we have a very special guest, former New York Islanders defenseman, the one and the only Mr. Rich Pilon. How's it going, Rich?
Good, guys. Thanks for having me on. It's going pretty good. Getting chilly here in Saskatchewan, but other than that, it's all good.
Appreciate you taking the time.
Oh,
Thanks, Rich.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so obviously, for those who may remember Rich, particularly for Flyers fans on a Flyers Central show, there's a one particular highlight that pops up where he got Lindros pretty good in a nice hip check that Lindros' leg hit the boards afterwards, and a lot of people thought that Rich actually injured him for that one.
Yeah. His name came up today, actually.
Really?
So, yeah, it did. Yeah, it's funny you got to talk about Eric because it came up today. I was at a conference and they asked about Eric. So,
Really?
yeah.
That's
They're
funny.
Yeah, they were just asking. They're like, "You guys had a big rivalry." I'm like, "Yeah." We just kind of. I played against him, and he didn't like me. I didn't like him. It was mutual. And I played a little bit more dirty at times, and he was a big man. So, yeah, did my best to shut him down.
Well, that's the nature of it. You're playing on rivals, so you gotta step up to the plate, right? When Philly comes to town.
Yep.
Rich was
so-
one of the toughest players to ever play this game, guys.
I recall.
Yeah,
I recall.
Thank you.
He was not fun to play against if you were going into the Islander zone at all.
Well, it's kind of like became a. I look back sometimes at some of the teams I played against, and some of the guys you meet after your career, and you have to sit there and amazing some of the stuff you do on the ice, and some guys were talking to me today about how we probably, if we saw each other after the game together, more than likely, but in today's game, if you guys just don't spend the nights anymore, and they're always on the road, so they're on the road, they go home, right? So there's not as much up here with guys that have to shut down.
Gotcha. And obviously, with the time that you spend in the NHL, playing for with the Islanders, the Rangers, and the Blues, you had a lot of opportunities to play with some really great players back in that time. Obviously, when we talk about time with not only the Islanders but the Rangers, you got an opportunity to play with guys like have Mark Messier on the team and to have Brian Leach on the team and what have you. And must have been a really interesting, during that time where the Rangers were considered one of the top teams in the league and trying to basically win a cup, which was a little bit easier said than done during that particular time. But, gentlemen, anything that you wanted to ask Rich from his time in the NHL all around the league?
I'll jump in first. Rich, first of all,
You guys still there, guys?
Yeah, man. This is Brian.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, you were breaking up there. Sorry about that, Rich.
Damn Wi-Fi.
Yeah. So I was just curious, what are some of your favorite moments as from your time in the NHL? Just a couple of your moments.
I think anytime, like player, it's obviously your first NHL game is always big. Your first goal, those are the things that you miss, like once you leave, is just your head, right? And I think when you leave the game, you think about your goals and guy you play against, but probably the best time, watching another guy get in trouble from the coach and having to seeing that is not you, like just that whole family aspect, I think is one of the biggest things that I would say I miss, because it was you're with these guys day in and day out, and you get to go into the dressing rooms, different cities, and they become really your family. And once you leave the game, like I remember certain guys like Warren Henning, who's one of the assistant coaches my time study, goes, once you leave, Rich, he goes, it is a done deal, and you're never going to, whatever you've been through as a player, you're never going to be able to do that over again, even in anything you do, whether it be business or whatever you move on to. And it's very true. Because when you're dealing with guys at that caliber and that are all in there for the same reason, trying to win the Lord Stanley, that's a once in a lifetime kind of thing. And you at times when you're in the league, you really take that for granted. And, even with my son, where his situation is trying to make an NHL team, enjoying the part of just being able to be around guys and be around certain coaches is things you really gotta soak up.
Hey, I got
Absolutely.
one for you, Rich.
Yep.
What was it like to play against a guy like Dale Hunter? I mean, how did you approach a really dirty player like him?
Fun. Actually fun. I always thought because when you're playing against like guys like that, probably no different than them playing against me, you knew that you had to be ready to play. There wasn't really a preparation of going, okay, I better be ready to play. Because not every game you go into games and you're feeling as good. You might be a little body sore, but when you're playing against guys like Dale Hunter that are, they're nasty and they're going to be dirty, and you got to find a way to be mentally tough, not to let it get under your skin, and those guys get you ready for games. And that's the part where, in today's game, I don't, watching, like the game is faster and everything, but getting ready to play against Dale Hunter or certain guys you had to like Eric Lindros, Kevin Stevens, even to some degree, you have to be ready to play. And they bring the best out of you, because if you're not ready to play, they're going to take advantage of you.
That's true. That was a very rough game at that time.
Take some liberties with you in the corner boards, I'm sure. Yeah.
Oh, Dale was so dirty. He was good with a stick, but so was I. So it was like, and you know what? It was a lot easier too when you only had one ref. Now you got a hockey team of refs on the ice. So plus you got cameras everywhere now. There's like nowhere to go and hide.
Yeah, no kidding.
And they just keep adding more of those review rules in there, so it just makes it virtually impossible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, caters to the best players now really, get to be the best players, where, like even like McKinnon, McDavid, those guys, like, there's so much, the argumentative of the players of their era. Like, when we had like the Lemieux, the Gretzky, the Mark Messier, But those, the goalie pads weren't as big, but then those guys had guys like us hanging all over them. Whereas these guys now, the pads are bigger for the goalies, so there's less room to score. But they also don't have guys hanging on, right? So, whether to be a generational player like the guys they have now, McKinnon, the McDavids, you know what? Who cares? They're just the best right now. Who gives a shit?
True story.
Yeah.
Rob, you have a question to throw out?
Yeah, Rich, you brought up your son Garrett, who's trying to make it with the Washington Capitals as a senator, and I'm sure you imparted wisdom, many pieces of advice to your son as he came up the ranks. But looking towards today's defenseman, what advice do you have for playing the game today, like keeping that fierce edge without going over the line, like you said, with all the cameras?
Is Garrett listening? Fucking, he don't listen to me. Maybe he'd listen to your station. He'll listen. Fucking, he sure fuck doesn't listen to me. Actually, like Garrett, like, I don't know how much time we're gonna have, but I tried to let him, like, he's got so much respect for the game. He's a hard worker. He does all the things right. He wants to be a player, but he just doesn't play with enough. Like, I tell him this, and he doesn't play with enough FU in his game. So I wish he just had a little bit more of that kind of Dale Hunter or myself in him. But he's got one of the toughest, he's a goal scorer. And, I got my energy got thrown through the roof is when I laid somebody, I was looking above somebody. He gets it from lighting up the lamp. And, he's got the toughest job in one of the toughest jobs in the NHL, not only to try and be in the NHL, but to try and score, right? And those goal scorers, it's not a fun job to have because everything depends on how many times you light the lamp up. And, my thing with him is you just don't have any regrets. Fucking go in, like, he's this year going in, I'm like, he's not like last year where he kind of went in, he had a really good camp. They really didn't give him, I didn't think they gave him an opportunity that he should have deserved, but, they got their reasons. And today I'm like I said to him, fight, if you want to get their attention, fight one of your teammates first day of camp. Whether he listened or not, I'm like, because if you're not pissing them off, I said, then the guys upstairs are just going to probably wondering, when you do that, if you've never done it, you're going to be doing something outside the box. You're going to get the attention of the coaches, right? And I think that's what he's got to do. But when you're never really in those waters, for him, it's a hard thing to do because he wants to be liked by everybody. And for me, I didn't give a shit whether my teammates liked me or not. It was more about making them better if I was hard on them. So just different personalities.
Yeah, it's
more
different
like my
generations.
Wife, I guess he's like my wife. 2 nights.
Yeah. It is more than that, though. Today's generation, it's not about giving the brutal honesty and feedback. That's
no
for a teammate.
No, it really is. That's exactly bang on. It's these guys, like, I don't know, I don't get it, but it's like, it's easy. Like, I gave him a scenario, and I don't know if I used Peter Laviette as the scenario. I said to him, Garrett, you don't understand the difference between what will is and how bad. Like, you say you want it, but what are you doing to want, right? And I gave him a scenario where I said, here's my scenario for you. I said, this has happened not this summer, but summer ago, where I was like, he was looking for some answers of why he wasn't getting a chance. I said, well, if you I used a guy on a team, which was Brian Pino, who was a teammate of his, who he's fighting for a spot with last year. I said, if Peter Laviette said to you, here's the puck, you guys, whoever brings the puck and puts it on my desk gets a one-way deal and is in the NHL for, say, 2 or 3 years. I said, what would you do for that puck, right?
Right.
And he just looked at me and he was like, well, I would do everything it takes. I'm like, yeah? Well, like what? Like, what would you actually do? I said, there's no refs, there's nobody in the stands, it's just you and your teammate. But that puck means that you get to be in the NHL and you get a one-way deal for 2 or 3 years, whatever it is. What are you actually going to do to bring that puck to Peter? And he just said, I would do everything. I don't work him. I said, fuck. I said, Garrett, that's fine. Here's what I would do. If I had to, I would break his leg. Then I would grab the puck bring it into Peter's office, drop it on his desk, and say thank you, and almost say F you, and go back and pick up my teammate. But that's what I would do for that puck, and I don't think you know what that means, right? So, you know, and it's easy for me because I know that's what I would do, right? I wouldn't even hesitate to do that. So, you know, the will part, like you said, and they're just brought up, like he got brought up like a lot of these entitled kids that, you know, as much as I was a coach for, I indirectly became without even knowing, because when you coach your son all the way up, he never really has to make a team. And now when he actually had to really make a team, he doesn't know what it takes. I think that's just, I hope he's listening right now because he fucking hates me for this, but whatever. Or my wife will be pissed. But, you know, it's like, it's like this. It's like, you know, and I tried to make, you know, trying to make these guys understand what it really takes to be in the NHL. Like, you know, he's a goal scorer. So if you ask a goal scorer, if you have a chance to fucking score a goal or go hit somebody, what are you going to do? Well, you're going to score a goal. Well, and I gave him another scenario. I think this is kind of probably, you're going to enjoy that. I said you get a breakaway on Samsonov, and if you score, you're in the NHL. Or I said option number 2 is you got your best friend Lucas Johansson. He's on the top line. You're on the blue line. Puck's on the goal line. I said it's a race to the puck, and all you got to do is make contact with him. You don't even have to lay him out, but you got to hit him once, and you're in the NHL. I said, which option would you do? He goes, well, I would go after JoJo. I said, really? Why? He goes, well, it's easier. Okay. Then why the hell aren't you doing it in the NHL? Because that's what they're asking you to do. Be hard on pucks, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So something you're really good at is scoring goals. You won't even do it. You're going to do something easier that you're not doing for them. But if you want to get in the NHL with the Washington Capitals, you have to come in as a fourth liner. You're not going to get bumped to the second or third line. So find a way to be a fourth line player. That means to play with energy, grit, you know, hard on pucks, finish your checks, right? So he's got to figure it out, though, because the light switch ain't sure. I don't have it, so he's got to figure that out.
I gotcha.
How great was it, though, to see him score a goal, though, last year?
Well, it's every kid's dream, right? It was pretty neat to see, and I was just happy for him because he is really a good kid. He's a good kid. So, you know, just happy that he got you know, how many guys and kids would love to be in that situation, and you're that close but still far away. But it's amazing as a parent. You're proud. You feel good about it because emotionally, you know, as a player, been there, done that, making teams, right from, you know, you're testing these next 2 days for these NHL guys testing, and it's a stressful time for them. Like, I'm sure the guys in Philadelphia are pretty having a good time right now.
Oh, yeah.
How's that going?
God. Yeah. They're having such a great time. Coots is now hurt, and, you know, and Torch just looks at that whole thing. He's like, oh my God, this is a disaster.
Sean Couturier herniated disc, yeah.
Really?
In strength and conditioning. You're not even on
the
ice.
Well, they're crapping their pants. Like, Torch is like, I've had Torch as an assistant coach, and he was a 10 cent with the Rangers. But I liked John because I liked him because he always knew where he stood with them. There was none of these mind games. He just told you how it was. Take it or leave it. So I respect him for that.
Nice.
Did you like playing for him, though, as a whole?
Yeah, I did actually. John was very, you know what, you can't, like, there's guys in the NHL, like, the solidified, you know, like the Al Arbors and these guys that, like Scotty Bowman, that they just gain respect because of what they've done. And then you got the guys that are trying to make it, and you have the assistant coaches. But when you watch certain assistant coaches basically out working your team off the ice, you got to respect a guy like that. And John was one of those guys. Like, Torch he was always running. He was always in shape. He just lived and was breathing hockey. And because he's like that. It's like Rob Brindamore in Carolina. They live it every minute and every second of the day. And the issues they have is the guys that aren't like them, that are not even like, guys can be not a little bit like him, but when the guys are way on the other side, they're going to have, like in Philly, if there's guys like that are like questioning whether they really like the game, they're going to find out real fast how much they like it with John. So,
Yeah,
Gotcha.
nothing like someone to give you a swift kick in the butt. Pretty much tell you just like, hey, are you going to get it together, or am I just going to have to say get out?
yeah, I think it's great. I think it's great that he's back in the game. I think it's great for the NHL because he's got the best post game, probably one of the best anyway in the NHL for players. He just absolutely doesn't give a crap.
Yep.
Like, I love seeing that.
So, back in when you were playing, during your time, getting into the fights and throwing the heavy checks down and everything, you got a chance to play in some, really hostile environments and what have you. What was like the arena that you would go into and like either your game was like, okay, I'm ready to go. Like I didn't even need to like get prepped or anything. Like I'm good to go. Or an arena where you knew like, oh, it's going to be intense tonight. Like what was that arena for you?
It was the Garden. For sure it was the Garden for me. Because there was such a rivalry with the fans and the players. And it just, to me it was the Garden. That was and I loved playing there because, on the island, our boards were like running into a brick wall. There was no give. And then you go to the Garden and you could get whiplash coming off the boards. So it was like, it was loud. It was awesome. The environment was awesome. And even playing in the old Philly stadium, like the little one, the Spectrum. The Spectrum. That was a tough building to play in. That was another building that was really tough to play in. The new one, not so much, but the old one was tough.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and and the Philly had the reputation of being like the Broad Street bullies, and when you walk into those older rinks that had such character because they've been, you knew the guys before you that were there, right? Where now I don't know what it's like to play because a lot of these new buildings are more the same. Where the old buildings all had some dead character, I thought, and you had guys you knew that sat in those stalls like the Bobby Orrs and the Bobby Halls. You know what I mean? There's just a different feel. The old Chicago Stadium was another one. So.
Right. Gotcha.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, it's also, you get into those buildings and they have the history to them and what have you, whether they went back to the original six or whether they made their own name for themselves in expansion. And then, you get out there in the ice. And I know you brought up Chicago. I mean, guys Brett Hull who were playing for the Blues, they used to just remember just the sheer intensity of the crowd because they were just beaming down directly on them. I'm sure you had to receive that when you were playing for the Blues going into that building.
Yeah. See, another one was like the old Toronto Stadium, like the old Toronto building.
Oh, the Maple Leaf Gardens. Gotcha.
Maple Leaf Garden. That was like that one there, but when you jumped the boards there, you needed like a parachute to get to the ice. It was the boards were so high. I remember the short guys had sometimes getting off. It was kind of funny, actually. It's funny watching videos of some of these guys getting jumping the boards because honestly, it was a long ways down there. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Brian, did you have a question?
Was there any team or any particular player that you would get amped up knowing that you're going to play? Like somebody would look down the schedule and be like, oh, I'm looking forward to playing this team because I want to rock this guy or anything like that?
It's more like, okay, this guy here wants to kill me, so how do I not get killed tonight? That's what it was more like, honestly. But I remember because I had suckered Probert early in my career. And I was like, fuck, every time I got to play this guy now, he actually, plus he was on coke. So I was poor guy, but I'm like, Jesus, that guy, honestly, he didn't look like he was even human at times, right? So you're like, oh God, I'm going to play that. I'm just going to let him take penalties on me. But meanwhile, I'm going, holy shit, do I really want to fight this guy? I'd have Nick Makota, these guys going, or Baumgartner, they're like, Rich, don't fight him. Just leave him to us. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of him. If he wanted to, honestly, ever since that time I suckered him, every time we played him, he would chase me around the literally. He wanted me so bad. So,
So-
other than that, really, that'd be probably the only guy. Other than that, I really didn't look at the lineup and go. Other than it was always like you knew certain guys like the Barnabys were mouthpieces, and right, like even May and Buffalo, like they just even though those guys, it was fun playing the game. Like I always looked at it as like another opportunity to try and get above somebody and be able to fucking hug your teammates after the game. And, it was.
Oh, a little break up there on you there, Rich.
Guys there?
Okay, looks like we're back now. We're back now. Yeah.
Sorry about I'm driving too, so it kind of sucks. So I'm losing everything.
Nah, we appreciate you joining us. Appreciate you feeling good this week and being on IA2D radio with us today.
Rich, what happened with you
Kind
and
of break
Keith
it up
Jones?
there, guys.
Oh,
Rich, what happened with you and Keith Jones? How did you guys end up getting into a fight?
hold
There?
on.
You guys there?
Yeah, we're here.
I'm gonna start saying check 1 2, check 1 2.
Gotcha.
Oh, we lost him.
Oh,
The
no,
spitting.
no. Rich went down. Hold on.
Uh-oh.
Hopefully we'll get him back in a sec there. That's the tough part with Wi-Fi. It does that to you, unfortunately. But
Well, hopefully
yeah,
he
so
pops back up.
so while we wait for Rich to reconnect, fam, out there right now. If okay, then here we got Rich again. He's just on a different line here. Let me add him back in. I think. Oh, it's still a little on the disconnected side. All right, then. It's all right. We'll bring him back when we get him back. All right, but
He just got to drive to that next tower, baby. That's all
Pretty
good.
much, yeah.
So while we wait for that, guess we might as well talk about it now while we got the chance. Oh, hold on. Let's see here. There we go. Our Duru.
Fingers crossed. Come up. There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, looks like Rich is back. Rich, you can hear us?
No, we can't.
We can't hear you, Rich. The audio is not coming through. Hold on a sec. No, still can't hear you, Rich.
What if you accidentally hit the mute button?
Uh,
Been there, done that.
Nah, still nothing. Yeah, unfortunately, still not getting the audio.
He must be in an area that's not good Wi-Fi, I guess.
Yeah, it's the beauty of the mobile networks. Let's see.
I'm chatting in the chat. See if you can read it, but I don't know.
All right. Let's see here.
I know Lewis on Facebook goes, "Is that Doug Peterson?" He does bear a slight resemblance.
You heard that.
You heard that?
You heard that one. He was laughing about that one. Nice. Let's see. Still not getting it. Nah, still not hearing anything.
Rich, if you could hear me, try jumping out of the stream and jumping back in. Sometimes we use StreamYard. Sometimes it gets a little quirky like that when you jump into a live broadcast.
All right, so Rich will jump back in just a moment. So, in the meantime, while we wait for Rich to come back, gotta love live streaming. Always filled with surprises. Let's talk about the big news that did break. Unfortunately, for the Flyers, Sean Couturier, we did mention it before while Rich was on, that the herniated disc and everything like that did put him out for a period of time, and that didn't help anything.
You guys hear me now?
Yes,
Yeah.
we got you now.
There, I'll stop. I'll stop if I got reception here. So
Gotcha.
Beautiful.
Gotta love mobile networks and what have you. They're just always filled with surprises.
yeah, I'm driving. So, but usually it's pretty good down this highway.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you guys know round bales? You guys ever see big round hay bales?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, a couple times,
Alright.
mostly through the countryside of PA.
We got in southern
is
Jersey,
just
a lot of farm.
This is just like New York. See?
Ha ha.
You're like
look at
New York
that.
Wow.
Upstate.
Yeah,
That's like Long
Fucking-
Island.
yeah. Watch a dog run away for about 2 days here.
It's God's country right there.
I was gonna say,
Yeah,
it reminds
it
me a
is
lot of
pretty-
Texas.
Actually, where I was just now, I'm up north right now, so it's actually really beautiful. Like we went fishing quickly. We went fishing for walleye, walleye pickerel. I don't know if you ever know what kind of fish that is.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a northern fish. Anyway, we caught in 2 hours. We caught over 60 fish, all like 3 to 4 pounders.
Oh my god.
Crazy,
Guys,
awesome. Yeah, really, really
Nice.
cool. Yeah, beautiful out here. Yeah.
That is awesome. Did you when you were in the league, did you prefer traveling like either on the bus, or would you have rather driven to the games or flown? Like what was like your favorite way of traveling back in the day?
Limo.
Limo? Nice. Nice.
I like the style.
Well done on that.
Only way to travel.
It's the only way.
Limo. You know what? Honestly, like busting didn't matter. Honestly, you know, I think one of the things that, like in today's game, is guys just don't get to enjoy the cities like we did, right? Because we always spent the night back in the day, right? Where now they don't. They just come home. So maybe I don't know if it's not helping with the marriage thing anyway. I can tell you that much. That's still pretty high.
Oh man, it must have been real fun back in the day, enjoying the city, playing in New York, whether it was with the Islanders or the Rangers. It must have been just
Well, like we used to look, we like St. Louis, Chicago, right? Boston, even, right?
yeah.
Like dude, after the game, win or lose, man, drink the booze.
Amen.
Yeah.
Was there like a victory beer and a different one for defeat, or was it just like, you know what, it's the same one every single time, doesn't matter?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was always. I don't know. Like guys, you got to go out. It was kind of, you know, that part is. You're somebody, I guess, so to speak, right?
I got you.
The single guys seemed like had more fun than the married guys, though. And it didn't matter what they looked like. I'm like, actually, we were talking about that today. I'm like, a friend of mine, anyway, she's went through a divorce, whatever. She goes, I married for looks the first time. You go, the second time I married for money. That didn't work. She goes, hopefully the third time I find love. Like
Priorities.
yeah, looks, money didn't work. She goes, hopefully I find love. I'm like, yeah. Oh well. But there's a lot of hockey guys that probably get lucky that shouldn't be getting lucky.
Ladies love the bad boys.
Yeah.
I see the no teeth and the smile, and then that's it. That's all that had to happen right there.
I mean, we used to joke. I was married, but I had one of the best lines, right? It would be like, how many drinks before I got a chance? Right? Like 3, like 5, like 10, right? Some girls would be like, why? I remember one girl had the joke. I used to like say that it was a funny joke and he'd make me laugh, but one girl was like, passed out. I'm like, oh my God. That's when I do my best work. Now all you got to put on there is Hockey Canada.
Yeah, right. I was just about to make reference. Yeah.
Fucking
We
terrible.
know a
shit.
little bit about that in Philly with Carter. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Well, I mean, his name's been brought up in allegations when he was on the junior team that won the gold medal there, and
Oh, has it?
it's it's been more so people not coming forward knowing infractors, sexual abuse potentiality. I don't know. It's still getting sorted out.
Yeah, it is. It's, you know what? To me, it was like whatever. Like to me, Hockey Canada, like I was part of did a little bit with them, and I was like, there's just an arrogance about them that I said I'd never go back. Right?
Right.
'Cause it's all about supposedly building a good human and a good person, and like just get rid of that. They want to win so bad, they will never. The best player can mess up. They will find a way to make sure he's wearing that jersey. I can tell you that, which is
right.
Shouldn't be that way. And that's
Right.
So.
Yeah, that's true in pretty much almost all sports. Sadly.
Yeah, it's all sports. They want to win at all cost, and there's so many jobs on the line. So it's that's the sad part of the game, I guess, and you'll never get away from it. Probably.
Right.
Too bad for the women and everybody else that get thrown into this shit. But what can you do?
Yeah.
Right. Well, we'll see. Innocent until proven guilty. You know what I mean? It might be a scenario. You had a lover, estranged, wanting to get back at a player because maybe you didn't call her back. You know what I mean? You got to look at both sides of the coin. You got to look both sides of the coin. I mean, you look at Trevor Bauer's Twitter; it'll tell you every day.
Really?
Oh yeah.
You gotta get the call back. You gotta get the call back.
Oh, God.
At least back in the day, you had an excuse. You had pay phones and you had the phones in the room and what have you. Nowadays, you don't have an excuse because you got a cell phone. Now it's just like, okay, you got a phone on you at all times.
There'd be a lot of guys in trouble. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Probably including myself. I had kind of a funny story. You guys will love this story. Rick Bowness was my coach.
Okay.
Right. And this is it's kind of funny we're talking about women, but I had done something stupid. I went and got my nipple pierced, right? Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm an alternate captain. So I'm like, so I did it for the wrong reason, really, but I did it.
Sure.
I'm not gonna tell you why I did, but I did it. Anyway, so I told our trainer, I'm like, listen, I don't care if you want to be the pipeline, will be booed, but if they find out about this piercing, I'm gonna put you in the hospital. That's what I told our trainer. So we're like in a 7-game skid, and they call I used to have to tape this thing up and not plus I'm one of the alternate captains, and guys are like, you're like just messed up. Like I was always on that edge, right?
Yeah.
And so Bones calls a meeting late. I fly out of the training room. They're yelling at me. Well, I sit down in my stall and I got no shirt on. So this.
Oh no.
Hey, Rich. I think
We lost
we got the
Sorry,
breakup
guys.
happened.
I gotta go now. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Good?
We got up to the part where you raced out of the trainer's room and you were sitting in your
raced
stall without a shirt
out of my
on.
stall with no shirt. Yeah. So Bones comes in, he's chewing us out about we're not scoring goals. And the whole time he's staring at me, and I'm like, why the F is he staring at me? Like, I don't score. Like, he just keeps, I kind of wrecked his whole thing, because when I look back after, I sat up and I felt my nipple ring move. And I'm like, oh no. Then I look over down the wall, and I see all the coaches shimmying up the wall trying to see this thing. And as soon as the meeting's over, I wrecked his whole meeting, right? He comes over to me, he's like, Chief, what the F is that? I said, Bones, it's a pierced nipple. And he goes, I know what the pierced nipple. He goes, can you tell me why? And the first thing comes out of my mouth is like, I lost a bet. Okay. So then I can see the guys I'm crapping my pants actually, and I'm just looking at him, and I can see guys in the corner by laughing at me ha ha ha, right? And I remember Mick Makota's like just laughing. So Bones turns around. He's about to leave. He leaves, walks away from me. He comes back to me. He puts his hand on my shoulder and he goes, "You see, guys, that's why I love this guy. He is just not afraid." Oh, yeah. No one really knew. Like I had it for a bit, but then I just took it out. I didn't know. I know why I did it, but I can't say why.
Hey,
It was kind of like losing a bet.
quick thinking on the fly. I respect.
Oh
that.
yeah, like I was like, oh my god, I was so scared. I was like, oh Jesus. Yeah, but yeah. Anyways,
So would
all fun.
was Rick kind of like one of those coaches that like what was the coach that like made you like, I don't know, like I wouldn't say like afraid, but it was like the coach that was just like, I kind of don't want to get on his bad side. Was he that coach, or was there another one?
No, I think Al was that guy. Like everybody was afraid of Al. Yeah, Al was that guy. Because he just was. Yeah, when Al got mad, man, oof. He never got mad at me. Like he got mad at me once in my career with him, and it was because I was overweight, and I was like, he called me like the Long Island turkey. Yeah, it was right around Thanksgiving. We have every weigh-in, we have Monday weigh-ins, right? So we have Monday weigh-in. I weighed at my he thought I was playing at like 206, 207. But as soon as weigh-in was over, I bounced right back up to 212, right? Well, Eddie, our trainer, was right around Thanksgiving. We have Monday weigh-in. It's now Wednesday. Eddie comes up to me. He goes, "I got to weigh you in." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "I don't know, but Al told me to weigh you in again." I'm like, "Seriously?" He goes, "Yeah." So I get on the scale. I weighed at 206 on Monday. Wednesday, I was 214.
Wow.
So, yeah. So I tell Eddie, I'm like, "Listen, don't show him that weight. Let me get the hell out of the room." Right?
Yeah.
So I get my shit off for practice early. I get on the ice at about 5 to 11. Like Radar, like whatever, Al, we call him Radar. Radar comes on the ice, and I see him just holding, looking for me, right? I'm like, and he sees me, and he was just like a bear. He threw his gloves and his stick at me. He goes, "Well, we got a Long Island effing turkey on our team." He goes, and he says to me, he's like, "If you don't get down to 206 by Friday," he goes, "I'm sending you right to the minors for 2 weeks." I'm like, "Oh no."
Wow.
Oh yeah.
He threatened you with a conditional stint in the minors.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
It was brutal. Then he would weigh me in. Like Eddie would be like, "I gotta weigh you in." I'm like, "Fuck, Eddie, come on." He's like, "Yeah, he's on you, man." He's like, yeah, brutal.
Oh my god,
Oh,
that is
kinda
funny.
funny, though.
Great.
That is funny. Oh, guys hated the weigh-ins.
I could imagine.
Oh, they did.
Anybody else have trouble with it? With the weigh-in?
Oh yeah, Bubba, Dennis Vasky. Like Bubba, I remember coming to the rink on Monday.
Oh boy, we got a stall on that one.
I was gonna say, I feel like we lost him again.
I think we did.
Well, mind you, folks,
you know
he is
the-
coming from Saskatchewan, correct?
Yes.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, that
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah, we're here, Rich.
Yeah.
I cut
So-
out there for a second.
So Bubba's on his hands and knees, right? And he's trying to make weigh-in. I go, "What are you doing?" He goes, "We had a little foamy thing that you put in your, for your skate lace bite or whatever, like foam." And he's wedging them underneath the scale. I'm like, "You think that's going to work?" He goes, "It's going to work. I'm telling you." So he's getting on the scale. I'm like weighing him in. I'm like, "You're still like 3 pounds heavy." So he put another layer of things. And then once he had the weight, he goes, "Okay, go get Eddie." I said, "Yeah, but then I got to get on the scale, and I can't get on that scale because I'll be too light. And I don't want to be light. I just want to be 206, 207, right?" Anyway, but it worked. Bubba would be like, he had these little patty things, and he had every Monday, if he was heavy, he'd stick him underneath the scale. No one ever knew that. I just let the cat out of the bag.
All kinds of dirty secrets coming down on the hockey app
Yeah.
tonight.
Oh yeah,
This is
Crazy.
what it was like back then. This is what you had to do to cheat the system a little bit.
oh yeah, yeah. And Al was one of those guys that he was big on weight, right? And there was guys like Bubba, Casper struggled at times early in his career. Well, you remember Kenny Leiter? Kenny Leiter played for the Islanders. Ken Leiter.
Ken Leiter, yeah.
Yeah, he was a D-man. He actually retired because of that.
Wow.
Really?
Oh, jeez.
Oh, I didn't know
He
that.
couldn't handle the weigh-ins. I guess he used to put the bike in the sauna to make his weigh-ins on Mondays. And he just mentally, halfway through. That's why I got my opportunity, because halfway through our camp, he quit. He walked away.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's what. So Kenny Leiter just left. Just said, "I'm done." He didn't he had so much trouble mentally just dealing with the weigh-ins, and then me and Dean Chanel to end up getting an opportunity because of that.
Well,
Yeah.
you certainly took advantage of it. That's for sure.
Yeah, I was fortunate. So then Dean got hurt, so that helped.
So
It was like, good, the heat's not on me.
Yeah.
we got a question coming in. It's more of a trivia question for you, Rich. It's, from one of our guys, Kevin Becker here, who likes to chime in with us every once in a while.
Yep.
He asked us this question, so we're going to ask you. Yanni
Yep.
Nienema scored his first NHL goal and was assisted by his idol growing up. Who was that idol?
His idol?
Yeah, Yanni.
Yeah. I have no idea. I'm not even a stat guy, so because I didn't have any either, so I didn't worry about it.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
Yeah, it was Adam Oates.
Adam Oates.
That was
How would we know that?
What?
yeah, I
How
know.
would we
I
know
know.
that?
I don't
knew
know.
that.
I mean,
Of course you did. Of course
Rich,
you
did
know
you-
that.
Rich, did you actually play with Adam at any point?
No, just against Adam. No, never played with him. Just against him.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the guy that came from Boston for us was Craig Janney.
Ah,
That's the name I remember.
Yeah,
Danny was good. He was a good
Yeah.
center.
yeah, Craig. So but he came to us. He was kind of he was a little beat up because of the Shanahan thing, right? I don't know if you guys know anything about that, but because Shanahan ended up, I don't know if you guys know that story. At all, do you guys know that story?
Vaguely.
I
don't think I do.
I don't think I.
No, what
yeah,
happened?
it's,
Well, they were all like, can I say that or no? Am I going to get in trouble for that?
You could
I
say
don't think
anything
you-
you want.
Say anything you want.
Well, Danny was Craig was a really good guy. When he got to the island, he was he just was not himself. We never knew why. And after we found out after, it's because him and Shanahan were best friends, and his wife and Danny's wife, they were all three of them hung out. But then Shanahan ended up taking his wife.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Really ugly.
Chris
Yeah.
Pearson and Mike Kekich, huh?
Yeah. So it really,
Oh, boy.
it really threw Craig Janney just after that was honestly never the same, they said. That's it.
Man, I
That's
can't
shitty.
imagine that being easy on anybody.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Something like that happened with Lindros and Tocchet.
No, I think it was
Well, I thought-
Brenda Moore. And
Brenda Moore.
Lindros.
It was with Brenda Moore and Lindros, yeah. That's
Oh,
a true
okay.
that's a true story too, they say, right? So
Yep.
it's kind of nuts.
Right.
That's I never saw any of that on our team, anywhere in the island, but we had a couple hot wives too.
But everybody resisted the temptation.
Yeah,
at
we
least.
had Mary Tchaikovsky. Remember him?
Yes.
Uh,
He used to be with the Bruins, right?
yeah.
Yeah. The Bruins came to us. They call him the Polish prince, whatever. But he was dating one of the Bond girls, and she would come, and she was pretty, right. So guy to be he's the only guy we Marius is another good guy. He just girls liked him, and he was divorced, but we were at a bar, and a girl was with a date, and she actually sent him a drink.
Oh my God.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Ballsy
Yeah,
move.
that's bad.
That-
We're
that-
holy yeah.
So
Yeah, I remember
right
that.
there, right there, Johnny
Right
on the
there.
spot. She was looking to trade up.
Yeah, she was trading up, yeah. Yeah.
Oh my
Hilarious.
god.
I was so looking forward before COVID. I was looking forward to going back because I was going to go back, and a lot of those guys were there. But then I ended up breaking my ribs. I broke like 3 ribs.
Ooh, damn.
This was like would have been like just this last fall or whatever. Like would have been. I was going up for their alumni weekend, and a week before I got bucked off one of my horses. I got piled really hard, and I ended up breaking 3 ribs. I had never broken ribs when I played, but I broke 2 ribs completely, and I hairline fractured another one. Oh, talk about pain. Yeah,
Jeez.
yeah, awful.
Yeah,
Well,
speaking of horses, I saw on online you had a winner the other day.
Yeah.
One of your horses won a race.
Yeah, yeah. I have a couple with my dad, and we kind of were. Yeah, I have like what I do here now is I do equine mental health. So, I use the horses, and I have a business partner that they use the horses for therapy, like because people get sick and tired of talking to a therapist, pretty much. So the horses are actually a way of healing, and it's really neat to see, especially kids that I see it with adults, but I see a lot of it too with the kids that are on the spectrum with autism. So we go to a lot of, like, I'm Métis descent, and that's where actually I was coming back from, is that we go to First Nations up north and to Métis communities, and we bring like the horses that it's basically it opens the door to like communication with some of these struggling kids that are struggling mentally where they are in life or whatever it may be, and we're trying to work it with families now too. So it's pretty neat to see. So I ride every day. That's one of my passions was hockey and horses. So and now we have a thing called In Stride Equine Mental Health and Equine Therapy. So
that's awesome.
yeah,
nice.
pretty cool. Yeah, so it's really cool. We go a lot of beautiful places, and it's work, but it's pretty neat to see when you see you're helping a young teenager that's never talked or something else, and they start talking to the horse, right? So it's just it's interesting to see stuff go down.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah,
Plus, I need it every day. I'm talking to the horses every day.
It's therapeutic. It's therapeutic. Just ask Sandra Bullock. No, but I applaud you for that. I applaud you for that effort. It's a little bit about me. I actually was a special education teacher for 12 years before getting in the radio business, working primarily with autism, and that's a great way to get a kid out of his shell and get to communicating in his own way. So I applaud your efforts there. Yeah,
it's pretty cool. It's pretty neat to see. We had a kid actually. You'd like this story because we had a kid that was nonverbal. He was like grade 5. So, anyways, we saw him here about 2 months ago. Actually, we seen him, and in the first time meeting this kid at the school and blah blah blah. Anyways, he actually said he started to talk, like he was saying horse, and the teachers are crying, and this kid never talked, right? So that was really kind of touching to see. And so the kid with autism, and the girl I work with, she's a behavioral therapist, so that's kind of her wheelhouse. So yeah, cool.
That's a great thing right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's cool to see that there's an outlet for people with who have those issues and what have you.
Especially after COVID, right? Like and people are just at a whole nother, like, anxiety, whatever you want. It's even myself, like you're always just, people are in a different space right now because of it, right? And the fear does some crazy things. And I've been fortunate enough to have the horse every day. I get to see him every day, feed him every day, and keep someone's got to go feed him. So, people that are struggling with depression, which I do have depression. I've got ADHD, and I got diagnosed after my career with a lot of stuff. And I'm very open about all my stuff because, letting people know that it's okay to be like that, because we're not definitely perfect. And, having issues, whether it be depression or mental health, is, people just don't talk about it enough, really, at the end of the day. So,
right. That's great to see and great to hear. And I guess the over under is that you talk to horses probably more than you talk to humans, right? Probably.
Pretty much. Yeah, you pretty do. Yeah, honestly, here's a thing you probably didn't know, though. It's kind of cool. So a horse will pick up your heart rate within 5 yards away from them.
Really?
Wow.
So when you get
Interesting.
5 yards from that horse, it starts feeling your heart. And
Wow.
and once you reach a connection with a horse, and this is, if you start sighing, the horse will start sighing with you.
No shit.
Oh my god,
No.
Yeah,
that's really
crazy.
cool.
wild. Yeah,
Interesting.
They're pretty
Yeah.
smart.
Interesting.
it's not a party trick either. I don't use it with girls. It's not a party trick.
Why can't it be both? No.
Yeah. So, anyways,
Oh,
Rich,
that's-
want to ask
Yep.
you a quick hockey question?
Yep.
What in your opinion, what was the biggest goal you ever scored? And who was it against, and when did it happen?
I can't remember her name.
Yeah.
Actually, it's my wife Jackie. It's my wife Jackie. I would say the biggest goal. I don't think there wasn't a goal that I scored, but I remember like that feeling when we won against Pittsburgh. That 7th game, that was like, I wish I could have that feeling every day. You know?
That
Oh,
That-
Kevin Stevens series.
the
Yeah,
series
like that-
where
because that feeling of beating them and that, like, there's no way of explaining what that feels like.
Rich, as a Ranger fan, I got to tell you, I was rooting for the Islanders that night.
Right? Yeah, it was a
We all
crazy.
hated the Penguins. You know that. Everybody hated them.
I know. We did too. They were like, yeah.
I bet Stevens remembers you.
Yeah, you know what? And I got to play with Artie too after with the Rangers, right? Like everybody calls him Artie, but yeah, he's one of those guys. Like he is so fortunate to have guys like Mario Lemieux, Gretzky, and these guys that he played with, because he's a glue guy on a team. And I don't know if you ever heard that term before on a hockey team, a glue guy. You ever hear that term?
Yeah, they talk about it. The announcers talk about it a lot.
Yeah, so that glue guy I was considered a glue guy too, to some degree. Yeah, I really was. Where basically the coach needs the glue guy to be on his side, because the guy that's that guy, he can either bring the team to the wrong side of the fence, but he can also bring the team that's the doubters or whatever you want. He can bring them to the right side. You know what I mean? And Artie was that guy for a lot of teams that he played on, because he was so well liked. He didn't have any preference. He was funny. Whether you were Russian, he didn't care. He just treated everybody the same. So that's how I was too. Like even with guys like Chara coming into the league, I didn't really care, right? But you could really derail a team really fast if you don't have that guy as a coach on your side, right? So, and Artie was that guy. That's why you see now that Pittsburgh's still taking care of him, because Mario cared about it that much that got him back on track after all the things that he went through. So, guys like that, I think you always hope that they turn things around and don't end up, in the box or anything. So,
Yeah, I gotcha. And back then it was one of those things where you had to be a little protective, because it just, the nature of the beast. It's just like, well, you gotta have to protect him because someone's going to target him. So you kind of have no choice.
Yep. So when there's guys that you wouldn't care if you get targeted, and there's guys on your team that you would be like at all cost, right? So some guys just like, I look at a guy like Ray Ferraro, who's like an analyst now. He was one of those guys, like we call him like Rob. He just never shut up, right? But he was a caring guy. Even though he never shut up, he played off sometimes a bit selfish, but he really, honestly, Ray was one of those guys that he was a good guy inside, But talking about, I always talk about Ray because he wasn't very big, right? He was like 5'8", maybe, if he was lucky. But fucking, he had high compete, and I see him. I haven't seen him in probably 2 years now, but I remember seeing him and thinking to myself, Jesus Christ, you're like really small, like And it's like, as you get older, you shrink too, so he's even smaller probably. But I'm like, wow. But Ray was, yeah, neat to see somebody.
I love how that's the first thing you said too. It's like, oh, wow, you're a lot shorter than I remember.
Yeah, like, that's what I said to Stater when I met him because I was so pissed off at him.
How is it down there in Oompa Loompa land, motherfucker?
Yeah, I was like, Glenn was up my ass so bad. I'm like, fuck, when I finally got to camp and I got to meet him, I was like, the first thing I said to him was, I'm like, because he had called me and basically read me the riot act, right? And I'm like, what the hell did I do? Just because you like, I had no idea what I did to this guy, but he didn't. I guess he just goes down the lineup and he just picks on one guy. That's what Mess said. And I was that guy. He went down the line. He's going, okay, Leachy, no. Messier, no. Richter, no. We got, who else do we have? Oh, Fleury, no. Oh, fuck, Rich Pilon at $2 million. Fuck, what's that guy doing way up there? I'm going after that guy.
God.
And he called me, and his first words were, if you don't get your weight down to 205, I think he said, he goes, I'm going to end your career.
Oh my god!
It was
Nice guy.
It was July 2nd, 2000. Or, yeah.
In July, he's doing this.
He did this in July. He called me in fucking July.
Oh my
Because he was another guy that's big on weight, right? So he looked at my weight at 215, 10% body fat, right? He goes, you're overweight, you're fat, you're overpaid. He goes, you're going to get down to 205 or I'm ending your career. But we got into a negotiation about my weight over the phone. Never met the guy. And I was like, I negotiated 210, I think. Yeah, it was 210. He goes, if you show to camp at he goes, if you show up, no, he said 215 because I was when I went, I had a trainer I was about 218, but I was like 8% body fat. I was bigger, right?
Gotcha.
He wanted me down to and I negotiated 215, and he goes, if you show up at camp at 214, I'm sending you right to Hartford.
Oh, Jesus!
Wow. Yeah.
Oh my
Guess
god!
when I weighed on July 2nd.
I'm scared to ask.
I'll throw out, just because of that argument and just because you wanted to stick it to him, low 200s.
July 2nd, I get on the weigh scale, or the 2nd, I get on the scale. Greg was my trainer for helping me. I had a guy by the name of Charles Poliquin. You guys know that name at all? He's basically Gary Roberts is like an arm's length of Charles, who's now passed. But anyway, so I used to go to Colorado Springs. Brad McCrimmon, McInnes, these guys all worked out with him, and he actually extended my career. But anyway, I was 244.
Oh!
I was fat and overpaid.
The funny part is, though, when you were saying that you were at 10% body fat, there are people that, like me and other people in the world who would be like, man, I would kill to be at 10% body fat.
Just died.
Tell me about it.
No.
And yet, you got people calling you, getting mad at you.
We lose them.
Oh. Yeah, okay, so I think Rich had a call he had to take there, probably the family or what have you. So that's all right. But we had plenty of great questions there with Rich. We'll see if he hops back on after that. But if not, we do have some news to talk about. Particularly, let's talk about it now. So Coots, injury, herniated disc situation is what it is. Boy, I'll tell you, like you said, Brian, the intro, cannot have anything nice in this city. It's just like, how many more times do we have to just take it right up, full on in the ass? It's just Couturier out now. I guess this doesn't bode well for him making any bid for the captaincy, unless he comes out of that injury and he has one of the best second halves of the season you could ever have. But even with the injury, with the way it is, I don't know. So, gentlemen, what are you thinking with this injury?
Well, according to the sources that I'm reading from, it's a minimum 12 weeks, and that's on the optimistic side, and it could extend well into the second half of the season, if not even the entire season. I mean, the issue is he had surgery on this back in February, and now it's not been said that the herniated disc is at that same column. If it's at a different spot, if it's the same, that's worrisome. Now you're thinking about career potentiality, and this is a guy that not too long ago was signed a nice healthy 8-year contract, and at this point, I mean, you got to hope for the best. It was done in strength and conditioning, that's the real shame of it. I mean, it'd be a shame no matter when it happened, but it's not even on the ice. But that just to me kind of screams like chronic and not acute.
Yeah, and that's kind of that's my main concern too here
That's a bad
is
thing.
if this is going to wind up being a chronic thing, because I feel like, and I've never had it, so I'm not really going to speak too much on it. I feel like once you herniate that disc, it's going to be easier to do it again and again, especially being a professional athlete, using playing a sport where you're targeted in the back a lot. A lot of the hits that you're going to take are going to be in that lower back, in that area. So I feel like it's going to be easier to kind of aggravate that injury over and over again. So, I mean, this is something that the Flyers did not need, was to lose a big name like John Couturier again for a minimum of 12 weeks to possible, season ending, depending on the severity and how training and all that stuff goes. So
now, mind you, Brian, a lot of that's hearsay. You know what I mean? He's being reevaluated right now. He's still listed as a training camp, being on the roster. You know what I mean? So if it was something that was for like a foregone conclusion, he would not be listed there. So we'll have to see after more testing gets done.
What's going on, Chrome?
What's up, Chrome?
Hopefully everything's going good with you, brother. And I mean, it's just horrible news to hear right before you get started in preseason, and now it's looking like maybe Coots will take this. I mean, I'm sure he was going to take this preseason a little bit easier anyway, but now he's really got to take it easy instead of getting himself into, like you were saying, Rob, with the conditioning and everything. Instead of going full force into that, he's going to have to pull that back now, especially if he gets reevaluated and it comes back with the same results. It's like, oh, boy, got a second opinion, and it says the same thing. Oh, crap.
Right.
Now you really don't have any other choice.
Now, also, Maddie, on that same list, you now see former Ranger Artem Anisimov, who was signed to a PTO, who has been playing out in the KHL, I believe, and coming back to the NHL. They say that the one signing has nothing to do with the other, and it's not the same type of player. You know what I mean? He's not as good of a face-off guy. That's what Sean Couturier brings, the strong face-off presence. This is a guy that could maybe just bolster your depth below, but it does make a little sense. It's too correlative to ignore.
Right.
Yeah, and you're also talking like this is a guy, he's a top 3 two-way player in the NHL. So, he's got that presence, not just in the face-off circle, but on both sides of the ice. And,
sure,
that's definitely something that the Flyers were missing last year that they desperately were going to need to even compete in the division this year. And now you don't have that. You don't have that presence anymore, potentially. It's a huge loss regardless. So hopefully he can get on the ice in a couple of days when training camp opens up on the 22nd, I believe. It's just Chrome says it perfectly here.
How old is Anisimov now?
I want to say 37, but I could be off with that.
Because the Rangers traded him. He was part of the trade for Rick Nash,
Yeah.
I remember that, yeah.
34.
Him and Dubinsky, and I can't remember the other two. It was a minor league defenseman who they thought was going to be real good, and he wasn't.
Right.
I don't remember who else, but there were 4 guys. First round pick, I think, also.
Well, you'll recall, Brad, he's a great penalty killer. You know what I mean? And
he was a good player. He was a really good player with the Rangers. I mean, he was always gonna give you between 15 and 20 goals. He was a mid-6 type of player. and you could move him up to the first line when you needed to. That's the kind of player he was. Good player. I always liked him.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
shame.
him and Carl Hagelin were two of my favorite players back in the day.
A lot of the thing with Anisimov is that they say that and I can't really back this up because I'm not 100% sure about this, but they say a reason why he was jumping from team to team a lot and wound up in the KHL is because his play kind of started to decline quicker than they anticipated.
Sure.
So he just couldn't land on a team after a while. So that's how he wound up in the KHL.
Yeah, and it just, hopefully it helps, the situation. Obviously, once again, we have to go back to the Band-Aid because, unfortunately, the solution to the problem may not be readily available at this time, and it is what it is.
Well, Maddie, someone's got to step up, man. When somebody
Right.
gets knocked out, it gives an opportunity. You know what I mean? Maybe this will help develop some of their aspiring, center iceman, Morgan Frost.
Right. Maybe it'll give them that fire under them. Be like, hey, listen,
Right.
Coots is down. He might be out possibly for the whole year. So time to step up to the plate.
And also, you got to remember these PTO contracts. Most of them aren't going to last throughout camp. So just because they signed into a PTO doesn't mean he's going to last through camp as a Flyer.
Right.
No, he may not make the team. I mean, that's part of the PTO thing.
Right.
Swoopy saying, "What's going on, gentlemen? What's going on, Swoopy?" Unfortunately, anyone who was joining us in, Rich hopped off. He was there for the first hour of the show.
And we really appreciate that. He was
an hour.
Great.
I had no idea he was going to stay that long, Brad. That's awesome.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's a good man. He really is. He's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and we want to thank
you guys got him talking, which was really good. He's hilarious. I mean, some of the stuff he used to say was when Frank and I had him was hilarious. I knew you guys would like him.
For sure.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
And I like what he's talked about with the therapy, with the developmentally disabled, the horse therapy. I mean, I had read that and I was going to ask him about it, and he just, lo and behold, brought it up and what joy it brings you. And he talked about his own depression. And I wanted to say to Rich that I can relate. I battle depression and anxiety every day. And when you bring a new skill or you bring therapy to those that are disabled, man, that elates you when you battle your own depression. There's no medication that can replicate that.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? It's great because he said that his two passions were hockey and horses. How lucky is he that he has two careers with both of his passions? Like, how many people get to say that?
Right.
You know what I mean? He had a good career as an NHL defenseman, and now he's doing this thing with his horses. Like, that's amazing. That makes me incredibly jealous and incredibly motivated to get my shit together and finally do what I want to do. You know what I mean?
The one thing I wanted to ask him, though, and it's been a long-standing debate on the show, I wanted to get his take on it, is what's his favorite hockey movie? Because we've had this dispute many times over. I always like to ask the professionals what movie they love.
Well,
I'll text him and ask him.
Cool.
All right, then, and then we should have that answer, so that way we know what his favorite hockey movie is. But for everyone who's joining us in, thank you. If you missed Rich, he was in the first hour. Once again, thank you to Rich Pilon for coming on with us and chatting it up with us. We had a real good time with him, and very hilarious conversations, and some very very important conversations, especially with therapy and what have you as well. And for everyone chiming in on the fan, throwing out the comments, which we love, Gleason's Bar, located 6700 Mill Creek Ave in Levittown, PA. Use the promo code A2D for 10% off of your order whenever you dine in, take out, or you go online at gleasonsbarandsteaks.com. From all the comments that have been rolling in, which we thank you all very much for. So, gentlemen, we're getting into 9:45 territory here, so we're going to get ready to finish this bad boy up. Swoopy saying Jay O'Brien needs to step up, and I would like to see him make a good strides in this training camp. I absolutely would like to see that.
I still think he's another year or
Hey
two
guys,
out. But
quick question for you.
Sure.
Did you guys hear that the Rangers traded Nils Lundqvist to Dallas?
Dallas, yeah, I was upset. I was hoping Anaheim was going to take a run at him.
Yeah, he's they actually got a first round pick this year for him. It can't be in the top 10 because it's protected. But if Dallas finishes as one of the top 10 worst teams in the league, the following season it's unprotected. So I thought the Rangers did, and they also got a 4th round pick in 25 if Lundqvist scores 55 points over the next 2 seasons. It becomes a 3rd round pick. So I think they did pretty well for a young player that really didn't play all that well with the Rangers last year and got beat out by Braden Schneider. So that was interesting though, because the Rangers didn't play games with this guy and make him sit out and make it a whole a whole vomitorium kind of thing. They kind of acted right away and just took care of business, which I really like the fact that they did that, because that can only, the longer you wait to trade somebody like that, the less you're going to get for him. So
yeah, and he's still a very young defenseman. He still has some growing to do for sure.
yeah, he's 23, but the problem with him is he's small.
I mean, how many times have we seen small defensemen?
Yeah, Sergei Zubov, perfect example.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember, they traded him, and the Rangers traded Sergei Zubov to Dallas as a young player, and that was probably one of the biggest mistakes they ever made.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I wanted Lundqvist, because I feel like that he can be a solid top 4 defenseman in the NHL once he finally, starts to really get comfortable with the league and finds his own. And I would have loved to have him in Anaheim. I would have paid that.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, because he could also run a power play too. I mean, that's. It's a shame it didn't work out with him, but the Rangers are so loaded defensively. They still have Matthew Robertson and Zach Jones, who are battling for spots as the 6th and 7th defense. I mean, it's not. I don't blame Lundqvist for wanting to get traded, because he saw that he's got no shot at ever making this roster unless he gets hurt. So I could definitely understand why that happened.
And Dallas he's got an open spot, so it's good for him. He'll get an opportunity to play every day.
Yep.
So
the other thing it does for the Rangers is now they have a clear shot at Kane, because they got 2 first-round picks now in 23.
Right. So they got some ammunition.
Yeah. Two first-round picks is a lot of what do you call it, equity.
Yeah, that gets the needle moving. So yeah, very, very important there. So before I jump into Spoopy's comments here, go down to the broken one himself. He's got a couple of around the league topics he wants to throw at us. Robbie, take it away.
Yeah, some big news went down shortly before we went on air. Nate McKinnon, he signed an 8-year contract with the Avs. Now, the financial terms were not disclosed, but he could have been a free agent after this season. So it's good that the Avs locked up their star player right now and not let it get to that point.
Over $100 million, I heard.
Is that right?
It's like 12.9 a year or something like that. I think that was his AAV.
I believe
it. He got paid, but you know what? He's worth every penny of it. So you know what? All right.
Well, this is what I said. If you guys remember, I said this a couple of weeks ago, I think. That 3rd line player that they paid all that money to, the Russian guy. What was his name again? Musician or something like that.
Yeah.
Should.
Vizishkin or something like that. I can't remember.
Nichushkin.
Okay. The fact that they paid him all that money and now they had to pay McKinnon. See, now you understand why I was saying I think that was a mistake, because now you've paid him. You're going to have to pay Cole McCarr pretty soon. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You have to draw the line somewhere.
I think McCarr's already got his contract.
Did he?
I'm pretty sure. I'm going to double check that real quick, but I'm pretty sure Cole McCarr already has his contract.
But Brad, it does make sense that where I was criticizing them for not locking up a lot of their missing pieces, while they were concentrating it on their boy.
Yeah, they got. You have to re-sign him. It's like if you don't, you don't resign him, I mean, he's the key to your team, and he's
Right.
he's the face of the franchise. You got to keep.
I mean, Landeskog's the captain, but he's the face of the franchise.
Oh, yeah,
Exactly.
he's-
Right.
Without question, he's also younger than Landeskog too.
Mm-hmm.
Makar did get that contract. He's in the second year of a 6-year contract.
Okay, all right.
Okay. So,
Okay.
any foreseeable hurdles so
Well,
far?
how many
seem to
more
be-
years is Landeskog signed for? Did he sign a 2-year deal or a 3-year deal last year?
Well, he was
Thought
a
it
free
was-
agent. I'm pretty sure it was 5-year deal. I think it was. I'm gonna check
Was
right
it
now.
5? Because I can't remember. I thought it was like a short deal because they have to start paying some of these guys. But now you know why they're keeping it on the cheap with the goaltending.
Right. Right.
I mean, well, it's like I said before. This defense is so good. It doesn't matter who you put in front. Oh, he signed a lucrative. Okay, so that was a longer deal than I thought.
Play a little money hockey instead of money ball.
Exactly.
Just average Joe Schmo that could stop the puck.
Yeah.
Landy is in the second year of an 8-year deal.
Oh, okay. So he got paid too. So,
Wow.
All right
Deal,
then.
too.
All right then.
They better
So
hope that salary cap goes up.
Oh, it will.
it's supposed to.
I think it's supposed to go for what, like $5 million this year or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
I hope
Yeah.
so because I know my team's in a salary cap hell right now.
Like most.
Yeah.
Right. Last thing, Maddie, we got a bit of due to a couple former now NHL defensemen today. They all went on down, and Brian reported the first one earlier today. PK Subban calling it a career. Zdeno Chara quickly followed. I think that was a little expected, but he made it official, as well as former Flyer Keith Yandel calls it a career.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Yandel, thanks for whatever the fuck that was. As for Chara and in all
Chara was great.
seriousness,
Love Chara. Subban, I would tell you, don't let the door hit you in the ass, buddy. You dirty son of a bitch.
I'm mad at
Agree to
Subban.
agree.
I'm mad at
Agree to
Subban
agree.
because
In New York, we called him Slewfoot Subban.
Slewfoot Subban.
True.
That's a good nickname right there.
Yeah, no, he deserved it. Believe me.
All right, so Rob, I don't know if you said this before. About the McKinnon contract. It was 8 years, 12.6, not 12.9. He also got an $85.3 million signing bonus.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah, I hadn't heard about the financials at all, so that's news to me.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's he got paid all right. Whew.
All
right,
And
so
I'm just looking
while-
up real quick some other news. Real quick. So we got the retirement guys. Rangers traded Neil Lundqvist. We saw that. There was one other one. Hang on.
While you're looking for that, I think Maddie wanted to get to Ryan Swoopy's comment.
Yeah, I'll throw out the comments from Swoopy here. He was talking specifically about Coots, saying, "I'm not saying I told you so or didn't say injuries would happen, but I absolutely despised the Coots re-signing. Yes, I was a fan of his because of his two-way play, but at the same time, he's a very slow two-way player. I wanted a similar player with a lot more speed." Then he went on to say, "I was shaking my head in complete disbelief when it happened." And then he finishes it off with, "Not saying it because of what's happened in the last 2 years because of injuries, but when the signing happened, I despised it, even with how much I liked Coots with his past play. Him being way too slow is a big reason why."
Well, I mean, where's his team if they don't re-sign Coots? You know what I mean? Like I think that's the one thing. Like hindsight's 20/20. You can sit there and be like, and say that stuff all you want, but at that time, Coots was a top 3 two-way player in the league. It was him, Patrice Bergeron, and someone else I'm blanking on. But those were your top 3 two-way players. They all were finishing for the Selke. He was coming off a couple 30-goal seasons. Like he was the guy. He was going to be your first-line center for years to come. You don't just let that walk. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I think if they had let him walk and he signed somewhere else, yes, the team's very different. But you're also like, if you let him walk, oh my god, and he this doesn't happen, You're sitting there saying, why didn't we re-sign this guy? Why didn't we re-sign this guy? This is what happens to Philly all the time. This is what happens to Philly all the time. It's literally, it's a double-edged sword. You got to take the. If I was the Flyers, I don't regret the move. I give him that contract extension. I give him that because he is a top 3 two-way center.
And
He
there
just,
was
needs to get healthy. He just needs to get healthy. That's the only thing.
No, he's a real good player. I mean, when he first came up, he was almost all defense, but then he blossomed into a goal scorer. I mean, he's tremendous. I always respected his game. I mean, his first year in the league, he was put out there against Crosby.
right.
I mean, how many guys are that good defensively as a rookie to do
Yeah.
that? That's very very rare.
Not only put out against Crosby, he was successful against Crosby.
Yes, he
That's
was.
the other
He
thing.
was in
Crosby
that
and
playoff
Malkin.
series.
He
Right.
shut both
That
of them
playoff
down.
series because of him.
Right, Rob. Right.
I mean, that's
Sure did, both.
unbelievable when you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And now
Around
and
the
also,
net, he's a little bit of a curmudgeon, a little bit of a caveman, but he scores.
I mean,
But I will say this though, we should also give Hackstool, we should give him a little bit of a thanks because we thought about how Toots wasn't scoring anything. He wasn't really doing much besides playing some decent defensive hockey, but he wasn't doing anything on the offensive side of things for his two-way play. Then all of a sudden Hack came along and what a shock. Young player in his 20s, college age, and a college coach teaches him how to score. Funny how that all came together. How convenient. Just saying, should give him a little bit of thanks for Coots finding some offensive touching here and there in his play. Anyway, all right, so we'll finish this bad boy up. We thank everybody who chimed in. Once again, give another shout out to Rich. Thank him for joining us as we had Rich Pilon on in the
Tremendous
first
guy.
hour. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. And it was a very fun time talking with him. And give a little love to our sponsors here for the show. If you're looking to buy or sell a home or for a change of career in brokerage, go to Alan Foy, eXp Realty LLC at 302-682-8820. Visit them on the web at alan.foy, exprealty.com. Also, throw out to become an A2D member, $9.99 a month, appearances on shows, members-only streams, shout-outs, weekly sports picks from the Money Pot podcast in Willie Vegas, which you can use for these two particular sponsors, one being FanUp. It's the best way to enjoy fantasy sports, daily NFL contests, and more. Win great prizes if you sign up today and you use that promo code A2D for 5,000 bonus points, which is a $50 value. Just go to fanup.app. And then, of course, BetUS, leading online sportsbook that has been in the market for over 25 years. You can bet anywhere in the U.S. on everything. Use that link right down there below to get 125% of a sign-up bonus. So definitely a lot of value there. And of course, all campus, Ocean City, 20% off everything in the store. You wear your team colors with pride. Get there while Ocean City's still open. It'll probably be closing up real soon because we're getting into those months in the fall. And finally, the doc, Dr. Paul Vidal, Specialized Physical Therapy. Head on specializedphysicaltherapy.com. Make an appointment, then head to Cherry Hill of Burlington, New Jersey, and you won't have those aches and pains anymore. And then, of course, our show sponsor, Manscaped, 20% off plus free shipping with the A2D code at manscaped.com. We thank everybody for tuning in tonight. We hope you guys have, as Swoopy says, have a safe week. And we will see you next week because I believe, gentlemen, preseason will officially be up and running, and we'll have a preseason game to do some live reactions to. So we'll be doing it up next Tuesday. So we'll see you guys then. Until then, guys, peace and love. Stay safe, everybody.